Well, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Rev Wendy here with the Community of Compassion. And I decided to sneak online this morning, this Resurrection Sunday, just to give a brief message. It's been a while since we've been together. Life has been very busy. For those of you who haven't seen me here in a while, you know that I made the announcement I was going to be running for Congress. And so I was going to be committing my time to that particular run, which would prevent me from being able to speak on a regular basis here on my Community of Compassion every Sunday morning. And that has been great and that has been wonderful. And I hope some of you all have been following me and been able to keep up with the campaign. It's been exhilarating and exciting and terrifying and all of the things that you could possibly think of. If you've ever thought about or considered getting into politics or running for office, I am very grateful for the experience and looking forward to the campaign continuing. But I also miss the ministry side and I miss the opportunity to come together every Sunday and give brief messages of motivation and of hope and of healing. And so I just took some time out of the campaign schedule today to tape a brief resurrection message for you all. So thank you so much for tuning in. As was mentioned, it's Easter Sunday, April the 4th, and in the Christian tradition, this is the holiest day. Outside of Christmas and the birth of Christ, it is the death and the resurrection of Christ. And certainly for me, as a Christian minister, but also one who is very inclusive of other faiths, I like to take days and instances like this and draw the meaning from them, and not just the religious meaning, but the practical meaning and the parts of it that we can bring into our own living experience and relate to. And so the resurrection really for me is an encouraging and a motivating day, in a sense that the story goes that, of course, Jesus was crucified, buried, and then risen today and alive. You'll hear sermons talking about death has been defeated. He is risen. He's alive. They went to the grave where they had laid him. They rolled away the stone and he wasn't there. There was no body, and they were shocked. Some of them were saying, what happened to him? He was just here and now he's gone. And someone had to come and let them know, no, he's alive. He's with us. He's beat death and he's back and en route to fulfilling his purpose. And so that's kind of where I wanted to go today with this resurrection message entitled A Resurrected Life. And I want to encourage each and every one of you today to look at life as an opportunity, and your life in particular, to be resurrected, even in the areas where you think that there is no longer life. Amen. And so many of us, especially in this year of the pandemic and election change and just upheaval all throughout the world, we have come very acquainted with death and with despair and with hopelessness. Some of us have experienced the death of loved ones, of family members. Maybe even some of us have contemplated our own deaths in these moments. As a minister, as a chaplain, as a counselor, I've spent a lot of time talking with people who feel as if their future is dead, or hope for the future is dying. Those who have even considered their own lives and the worth and the value of their life in these moments. And those are the times where we get an opportunity to feel like what it would be like if death won. Sometimes our situations, our circumstances, our lives can appear so overwhelming and so bleak, in a sense, that we don't have any particular hope that things will change, that they will turn around, that they will live again, and that we will be able to move forward. And I want to say in this moment that those feelings are incredibly real. And I want to make sure that I validate those. I am not the type of preacher who just says, well, pray and everything will be okay, or you can get over it and you'll be fine, or let it go, or forget about that person, or forget about that situation and just look on the bright side. Sometimes there is no bright side to see. And so in those moments, it's when we reach our deepest, sort of darkest hole, if you will. And that's kind of the symbolism I see in this resurrection story with Jesus. So he was crucified on a Friday simply for doing what he had been called to do, and that was to preach and to liberate people and to share a message of love and peace. And people did not want to hear that. The people in power didn't want the people not in power to begin to become encouraged and possibly rise up against them. And so they sought to destroy that message and to suppress that message that Jesus was bringing of hope and of liberation. And so they crucified him. And for all intents and purposes, he looked dead. Everyone assumed that he had passed away. They watched his body be taken down off of the cross and then buried, and then put in a tomb, a stone put in front of the tomb, and there were two guards outside of the stone so that none of Jesus' followers would try to come and remove his body. And so we have an opportunity here to identify with that, right? Times where people have completely written us off. They've said there's no hope for this person. Their future is over. Maybe it was a choice we made. Maybe it was a decision that we made, that we had a significant consequence as a result of. Maybe it was a relationship that didn't end well. And so for us, we felt like this is the end of the world. There's no more hope for me to ever be in another relationship. There's so many scenarios that we could apply to this story, in a sense that it was over. Death had won. There was no turning it around, right? And then suddenly on Sunday morning, God, divine intervention, angels, whatever you identify with that helps you to get over those rough patches, they came and they got Jesus out and up. Jesus left the stone, passed through the stone, and went back into the village to let his disciples know and everyone know that he was indeed alive. He was not dead. Although things looked bad, that was not the final story. Death did not have the final say. And so today, my encouragement to you is to find those places, find those resources that help you feel like, even though I'm down, I am not out. And those resources just may be books that you read, friends that you have, good moments that you remember. Perhaps you're your own cheerleader. Perhaps you have to get into the mirror and talk to yourself and say, this is not it. This is not the end for me. Whatever it takes, appreciate and embrace the feelings that you have of death and despair, but at the same time recognize that a resurrected life is one that finds triumph over defeat, one that chooses to live rather than die when they have the strength to do that, and one that is rooted in a sense of comeback, a sense of destiny over despair. You know, in that story, Jesus knew from the very beginning what his purpose was. He understood that he had come to be a liberator to the people and to give them the message that they had the power of God within them to live and to move and to be like he did while he was on the earth. He knew from the beginning what he had come to do and what his purpose was, and he was not going to let anything stop that, even death. And so when I say destiny over despair, that's what I'm saying. You've got to cling to that which you know that you have been given to do. But even so, more than that, that which you know that you are. I don't know why this is coming up for me, but some of you all who are listening to me now, perhaps you've suffered the death of your reputation. Perhaps uh, someone has spoken out against you, has said some things that were untrue. Maybe you've been slandered, maybe you've been libeled. And as a result, you've lost credibility in your profession. Perhaps you've lost some credibility in your office, and you feel like that aspect of who you are or were was attacked unfairly, and that it caused some measure of death in your life as it pertained to connections or networking or something of that nature. Um, Again, same thing. If you are feeling or have ever felt like there's something, some area of your life that needs to be resurrected because it was treated, it was killed unfairly, this is what today represents for you: a resurrection, an opportunity to embrace the spirit of resurrection and what that means, that you can rise from those ashes of whatever happened and piece back together, if necessary, the sense of who you are, of what was taken away. You can aspire to live a resurrected life, or live in such a way that even death, even attacks, even hopelessness and despair cannot stop you from walking in the purpose of who you believe that you have been called to be. It takes a lot of work. It's not easy. But as I mentioned earlier, much of that work is internal. There's so much about us that looks for affirmation outside of us. That's human nature. Who doesn't want to be liked? Who doesn't want to be appreciated? Who doesn't want to be celebrated? Of course, we all want that. But at the end of the day, when you come back home, when you come back to your place of residence or wherever, and you're alone, um, and those outside voices that you were seeking aren't there, what is the conversation you're having with yourself? What are you saying to yourself? You, me, we are our biggest cheerleaders. We are our biggest friends and our best friends. We're the ones that have to say to ourselves, and you might have to look in the mirror and say, self, listen, you are amazing. Don't listen to the haters. Don't listen to what other people are saying about you. You are everything that you believe you've been designed to be and called to be, and you're fine. You are okay. And even though it may look hopeless right now, there is a possibility to live again. There is a possibility to reemerge from this time, from this period, from this experience, from this relationship, better, stronger, happier. Hi, Kimberly. Happy Easter to you. Good to see you. I decided to sneak online so that I could do this resurrection message today, because I think it's so important, and I want you all to share it, to embrace it. Again, and this is regardless of the faith tradition that you follow. There are principles, and that's kind of the preacher I am. Though I am a Christian preacher, I try to make the stories as accessible as possible, because I believe that that is the whole point of our faith traditions, is to invite others into the stories that we celebrate so that they can also identify and see themselves. And so that is part of the reason I share the types of messages that I do. But today, being the special day that it is, I just wanted to take some time to encourage you. Live a resurrected life. On this Resurrection Sunday, live in a manner that speaks to the possibility that you can achieve and be and do the things that you feel called and purposed to do. Um, the way to do that is to be realistic about what and where you are and where you want to be and where you want to go. If you are honest with yourself about that, That's a good start. And then begin to encourage yourself that it is indeed possible. Sometimes I've heard a couple sermons about this. Um, During this resurrection period, right? Between Good Friday when Jesus was crucified, and then the Sunday when he was resurrected. What was happening on Saturday? Right? So, there's been lots of even theological discourse around, wonder what was happening on that Saturday. Was Jesus actually alive and just waited till the Sunday to reemerge? Was he, meeting with God? Was he, having a conference with himself? So what, between the time Jesus was crucified, which he knew he was going to be resurrected 3 days later. So wonder what was happening, in that in between time, because a lot of us can probably identify with being right there, right? Okay, Reverend Wendy, I hear what you're saying, and it sounds really good. But what do I do between the experience that happened that caused me to feel so down and the death, and then the actual reemerging, the resurrection piece that happens, a little bit later? That's the money time right there, folks. That's the time where we build ourselves up. That's the time where we use our prayers, like I said, as our connections to whatever faith traditions you might have. I choose to believe that, yeah, that while Jesus was in between death and reemerging, he was reorganizing himself. That he was taking some time to himself to pray and to think about what his next steps were going to be once he emerged. I really feel like that was a rich time because he was away from everyone. It was a time of solitude for him, complete quiet, complete silence, where he could hear from God, where he could seek direction, where he could seek guidance. And so that's not a bad time to have. So some of us may need that to kind of cut ourselves off and find a place of solitude and quiet where we can reflect. I'm actually away this weekend, just taking some time for myself. We've been going hard with the campaign, so I felt like it was time. I gave my team the weekend off, and for us to just resurrect ourselves, so that because we sense the campaign moving into a faster phase here in April. So we wanted to make sure that we were recharged and rejuvenated. And I want you to do the same. Amen. So thank you for joining me this morning. Again, it was kind of random, but I felt like in my spirit, I wanted to just reconnect with you all to let you know I'm still out here, still thinking of you, still praying for you. The community of compassion is not going anywhere. I just am not able to meet as regularly as we did before, but I'm so glad to be with you today. Take some time to enjoy this day, to reflect on where we are, where you are in your life. Things seem to be turning around a little bit as far as the society and the pandemic, and more folks are getting vaccinated, so there's some very positive things happening. Perhaps we'll be returning to some semblance of normal, whatever that looks like on the other side of these things. But regardless of how we come out of this period, just believe that today resurrection power is available for us to come out of it. So thank you for joining me. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. I will definitely try to tune back in when I can. Thank you all for your support. I really appreciate you. And take care. Have a blessed and wonderful Resurrection Sunday. Happy Easter. Bye-bye.